I wish to return to the presentation I was making, but allow me to just back up a little bit, just to make something of an overlap to do the connection. I indicated that yesterday while the debate was ongoing, that I sought to inform myself as to the manner in which and what the Director of Audit does and what the Director of Audit's report deals with. And I was seeking to indicate to this House that it covers every single aspect of government activity. Every aspect. Whether it is the day-to-day operations or projects or any disbursement from government to statutory corporations, those fall within the remit of the Director of Audit and the report which he makes. And it is important to recognize and accept it, because that is really what the Director of Audit does. And I made a reference to page 11, of the Director of Audit's report for the financial year ending 31st December 2015. And on that page it says, the financial statements are prepared by the Accountant General's Department, Ministry of Finance, and submitted to the Office of the Director of Audit in accordance with statutory requirements. So the Director of Audit, his report emanates from and is based on his examination of all the accounts and all the financial activities of government. And that is why this bill seeks to guide the functions and the operations of the Public Accounts Committee by saying, let the Director of Audit's report be the document or the departure point. This is what you take. You look at it, you read it, you find whatever concerns you have or objections you have to expenditure or revenue, and then you can ask your questions. I went on to say that, I'll come back to that a little bit, but it says also that this report, or this statement, which is the 2015, does not have in it statements of statutory corporations. However, and that is the key, it is the however that is important. Yes. Cash flows, cash outflows to these entities during the reporting period and any contingent liabilities incurred on behalf of these entities are recognized in the financial statements. What in that does not indicate to this Honorable House that the fact that the Director of Audit uses, and I will add a bit more to it because it's right in here in this document, the actual financial statements and accounts of the government to make his statement precludes the Public Accounts Committee from having access to the originating documents which give rise to the Director of Audit's account report. What? Nothing. Nothing. I looked, Mr. Speaker, and I raised the matter of the number of corporations. There are 15 listed in this document. And I'll just read some of them. National Housing Corporation. So, if the National Housing Corporation receives a subvention from government or disbursement from government, the Director of Audit can, as I was saying yesterday, follow the money. Follow that money from government disbursement to National Housing Corporation. It has a right to do that. And if the Public Accounts Committee, through its chairman or however other mechanism it wants to use, decides, listen, I want to know what has happened to that National Housing Corporation disbursement which the corporation received from government. Or if the government has guaranteed a loan, say from Social Security, how was it spent? There's nothing to preclude the Public Accounts Committee from examining that and asking questions. That came up yesterday. It also speaks to SCASPA, because that came up. We heard talk about the second peer. So you can investigate all of that because these are in the purview of the Director of Audit's activity. It's there. And we look further, urban development, solid waste, Frigate Bay, Whitegate, Development Bank, La Valley Greens, ZIZ, Tourism Authority. Those matters, provided any disbursement or is given from the government, because we are dealing with Public Accounts Committee and its activity. This is what the bill is talking about. Exactly. Adding to the debt. If you guarantee it adds to the debt of the country. So the Public Accounts Committee can inquire into through the processes which have been set out in the bill. But I want to go on a little bit more, just to, in a way, tie in the fact that the Director of Audit report is a substantive, originating document which can guide the performance and the operation of the Public Accounts Committee. Hear what it says here in this report for 2015, the audit report, under section 2.5, timeliness, it says. It says section 57.2 of the Finance Administration Act requires the Accountant General, that the Accountant General shall within 6 months after the end of each financial year do some things. Who is the Accountant General? The Accountant General is one who keeps the books. He's in a way the chief treasurer. He keeps the books, everything that government spends, every check that is written and passed, whether its payments is made, whether payments are made domestically, foreign, it's paid for water, it's paid for a truck, a car. That account is kept with the Accountant General. And even though, Mr. Speaker, the permanent secretaries are the chief accounting officers of the ministries, and they have accounting officers in the departments, all of this end up back in the Accountant General's office. That is where the actual activity takes place. The bookkeeping is done in one place, but the actual and final accounts are recorded and kept in the Accountant General's office. But hear what it says. It shall, within 6 months after the end of each financial year, A, prepare the public accounts for the financial year in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles as determined by the minister, accounting for all public money and showing fully the financial position of St. Christopher and Nevis at the end of that financial year. What more? What more could be expected to be included in the bill? I'm reading from the Director of Audit report for 2015, the report on 2015. That is what it says here. And it says also, B, that he shall certify the public account. That is, the Accountant General has to sign off on that these receipts of revenue, the expenditure which was approved, that these have been undertaken, and he sends that to the Director of Audit. So the Director of Audit has all of those documents, let's go back to documents, in his purview, and he has to go through them to make his report. Again, where is the violence done? By saying in this bill that the Public Accounts Committee shall use as its foundational point of departure to engage in its work the Director of Audit's report. Where is the diminishing of the width or the breadth? Where? If, Mr. Speaker, a project, and as I mentioned Casper, is undertaken in the Ministry of Public Utilities, or a project undertaken in any other ministry, that is the policy or the will of the government. But there are checks and processes which are engaged in the procurement, the contracting. And when the Public Accounts Committee gets those final accounts or accounts at the end of the year, it may not be final because a project may last for 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, 6 months, whatever. And at the end of the financial year, it may not be complete, but it gets accounts or records or documents dealing with that project. And if the chairman or the members of the Public Accounts Committee believes in his or her opinion or feels, well, something has not gone wrong, I've heard, he has the authority to ask for those documents. The bill says that. The bill says that. In section 8:1, it talks of that. And it talks of who could come to explain, who could come to defend, or who could come to shed light on what those accounts mean and what they have accomplished. The third thing, C, that the Accountant General must do with those accounts, he must submit to the Director of Accounts, the Director of Audit, as many copies of the public accounts as the Director may require. So where does the Director of Audit get his information to do or prepare his report? From the Accountant General. Where does the Accountant General get his information or his accounts? From the ministries. So we see that whole flow from the ministries to the Accountant General, and he has to submit his final accounts to the Director of Audit for him, or for that office, to prepare the Director of Audit report. Again, if the Public Accounts Committee, in looking at the 2015 report, or any report for that matter, feels, believes, in the public interest, let us add that in as a proviso, in the public interest, and as the toothless or the multi-tooth watchdog over the public finances. Because I heard you say about toothless. I don't know what is toothless about having the ability to ask for any document. Any document.
Really? Wow. You need any document?
But that's what it says in the bill. The bill is saying that. Let's read. Let's read.
Where? Where does it say any document?
So it doesn't give the authority.
8.1. It says power to summon witnesses. The committee may summon the financial secretary. That's the one who prepares the estimates of expenditure and revenue and brings that matter for the House to consider. The House approves it, and it goes out at the end of the approval by the House by warrant to the different ministries through the permanent secretaries. That's a simple process. The permanent secretary then has the authority to devolve authority to his heads of department or her heads of department. So here you have the chain of responsibility. That is the process. So the committee may summon the financial secretary, one, may summon a permanent secretary as a chief accounting officer of a department of government, or the accountant general to appear before it to give evidence. Now, we don't have to spell out what evidence, that the evidence depends on what the Public Accounts Committee, through its chairman or through all members, would like to get. You ask for what you want. You ask for what you want, that's what it says here. So where is the truncation or the belittling or the undermining of the authority? Where?
Because everything is to direct upon the report.
Exactly.
That is the point.
Please, honorable members, go and read again and try to follow what I'm trying to say.
No, I'm reading it. I have the bill in front of me.
But what I said initially, hear me, the report is based on all of the financial statements, activity accounts of the government.
So if
That's what it's based on.
the auditor doesn't report something, how does it come in?
That's the point. That's the point.
But what I'm saying, I go back to what I said. You can ask for evidence. You can say, listen, hey, this is missing.
You can't.
If it doesn't
Something
raise in the
raised, if it is not raised in the report, how can you ask?
How you mean you can't?
What's the reason to put the cat?
Listen. No, let's go. It says, Section 8 says, you can ask for
Yes, but
evidence and ask to produce documents.
only
Yes.
Only the matter arises in report. 7
It has to be what comes from the report in
The
7.
first thing they will say, we don't have that power.
Exactly.
No, that can't be right.
First thing, once it doesn't arise, that's what it is.
Let's go back. Let's go back. When you get a chance, you can further enlighten us if you feel we need enlightenment. But I don't see where the enlightenment is going to come from, because I feel the act is, I say, come from, not go to. Right? If you want to look at 7, it says, inquire in writing into any question connected with the report. But the report is based on government's finances.
But suppose something is missing from the
Order. Any other circumstances connected with that committee still should be drawn to the attention.
Connected with it, the report.
But if it's submitted, it's connected with
The
it.
report.
But if it's submitted, it's connected with it.
No, it has to be there.
It's connected with it. If it's submitted, you know it's submitted, it's connected. But it's just submitted the
refer to in paragraph E.
And go back to paragraph B or section B. Subsection 1, paragraph B. It says, any circumstances connected with it that the committee thinks should be drawn to the attention of the National Assembly. It's there. Anything that you feel.
Connected with what? Report.
But the report, gentlemen and members of the Assembly, is to do with the national financial activity.
And if the report is deficient, it's connected with it. It's deficient.
I said, I am at a loss, Mr. Speaker. I'm at a loss to find out why we are here stumbling over like blind people on matters which for me are clear.
Elementary.
That the power of the director of audit, and the director of audit is not going to deal with every single little thing. He does a global picture, but you can still ask, how come this is not here? Do you have evidence of something happening? No. Please, I really thought we were dealing with people of some measure of greater understanding.
But we are. All of us are.
Greater understanding. Because you see, Mr. Speaker, I have come to the conclusion that the members came with their view. Nothing wrong with that. But they are willing to be guided with the discussion, by the discussion, to explain and to further give clarity to what they feel is not clear. What they feel is not clear. That, I think, is the crux of the problem. The limited understanding of the whole process of how the government accounts works. That is what I think is beating us.
It's strange, you know.
That is what is beating us.
When I was the Minister of Finance, he know how this thing work. He know how it work.
He should know. He should know.
Because I come into a fly and I
Mr.
go in the point and all.
Mr. Speaker,
And you know, there was never any public accounts committee working.
Mr. Speaker, I said, we go back and it says,
Because people
anything which it thinks could be drawn
Or
to their attention.
I wonder which people.
when those who
Right?
No,
I
right
was
there.
given the opportunity to do that work and do that.
But I said, it speaks also, Mr. Speaker, in section 8,
You do have to have a
further to the summoning of witnesses, because I think there was that concern that we're only talking to the permanent secretary or the financial secretary or the accountant general. But hear what it says further on. A summons to witness may be in accordance with the Form C. It speaks about that. And the summons could be served on them in a particular way.
Let me hear what you're going to say.
But it goes on, Mr. Speaker, in 10. It speaks, is it 10? Give me just a little minute to find, because it speaks in the bill.
Yes.
So if the permanent secretary is summoned, he also has the authority to ask his head of department to come to the hearing to provide support information or to explain further. He has that authority. Now, yes, right, I have 10.3. A witness may invite staff from his or her government department to assist him or her whilst he or she gives evidence. So anybody within that purview who has anything to do with government financial activity and accounts and government expenditure and receipt of revenue could be called to explain and support. They could be given, well, they could just support.
Support.
Yeah, yeah.
Support.
Which
is not unusual.
No, a question arises. A question arises about the customs.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But not called to give
The permanent secretary is not physically involved with the customs activity. So he calls the comptroller of customs. The comptroller of customs may say to him, listen, I need you to bring my chief inspector or my chief collector of revenue, my chief cashier. Bring them. And they can be there. The permanent secretary can then say to them, listen, I'm being grilled by the Public Accounts Committee. Can you give me the hard evidence? What actually happened?
I want to see this working by.
And this, Mr. Speaker, I think is what is crippling. Right?
To assist.
You need to clarify this in the AG.
Clarify what?
No, I don't know that there need to be any further clarification.
The person not a witness, they sweat out who is the witness.
No, he changed. They changed it. Just invite.
Is that a
The
witness?
person, that's a technical person who will say to and through the witness that this is what transpired.
So the back can question the technical.
Which is
I would not think
which
so.
was step down from what was before.
It's not a step down from before.
I'm following the debate, and one of the things that is getting my attention is the fact that I'm hearing a lot of comments from persons who have not presented yet. I would have their turn to present and to rebut and refute anything that the presenter is saying. So, no, I don't have a difficulty with some of the thing, but it's too persistent. Is the persistency of this crosstalk, honorable members? Thank you. Continue.
I said, one of the issues or things which I'm seeing is that we seem to want the bill to sanction a charade. The bill is not there to sanction a charade and a humiliation of people. The bill is there to provide an avenue and guidance to the Public Accounts Committee to elicit solid information to clear up any concerns which the report which the report has about the accounts of government. That's what it's there about.
It's to improve efficiencies, you know.
It is not there to be badgering people in the public service.
No.
This is not a tribunal. It's not a tribunal.
It is not there
Criminal tribunal.
to put pressure on anybody, to say to them, listen, if you have been a responsible public servant and you have information which could help clear up any concern, you come and provide it. And I think this is reasonable.
It's just system good governance of the country.
This is reasonable, Mr. Speaker. And it also allows the Public Accounts Committee to engage, if it so desires, in greater disclosure of anything about which it has concern. That's what it does. Anything it has concerns about. It goes back to getting the documents, calling the witnesses, soliciting the documents. And what are those documents, Mr. Speaker? Those documents are the accounts which are prepared in the office of the Accountant General.
I want to understand
That's right.
you have maintained that posture that we have access to everything.
Mr. President, Mr.
What
Speaker,
did you want to find?
I recognize, as I said, that
You want to improve?
there,
That's what it was about.
in listening to the debate, I really am finding an issue that we are hard-pressed, members are hard-pressed, to accept that this bill is not a come down, that this bill is one which allows the Public Accounts Committee to function in a structured way, which allows it to complete its work, which allows it to do its investigation, which allows it then, having investigated, to prepare a report for Parliament.
It's for Parliament.
Recognizing that the Public Accounts Committee is a committee of Parliament. It is not something to be out there parading on the radio. Parliament. When it comes to Parliament, then the radio gets it. Then the radio gets it. When it is done, the report could become public knowledge.
Look at 12. Because the important to mention that follow.
It's again, we look at section 12. Where evidence is taken by the committee, a committee member shall not, without the consent in writing of the witness, and a person other than member shall not, without the consent in writing of the witness and the authority of the committee, under section 3, subsection 3, disclose or publish the whole or part of the evidence other than evidence which has already been lawfully published. Now, that is not trying to proscribe anything or anybody. What he's saying is, let us do things for change in the country decently.
That's right.
And in order. Let's do it decently. Let's do it in accordance with the rules and the law. Let us not continue to fly off on this witch hunt and trying to embarrass. But let us do it in accordance with the law, professionally. And once it has been done, the report is tabled in the parliament, it becomes the purview of the people of the country. That is what we are seeking to do. Mr. Speaker, I think yesterday there was something about deputy chair and all of that. But somewhere in this bill, and let me just have a quick look, because it was bandied about that if the chair is absent and the deputy chair is not there, and there is cause to elect a chairman for the proceedings, that it appears that a member on the government side could be the chair. But it speaks to that. It says, and then let me just have a quick look at what it says. It says, we go back a little, because I have it highlighted. It's 4.5, I have it highlighted. In the event of the absence of the chairman and the deputy chairman from a meeting of the committee, the members present shall appoint a member other than a member who supports the government to be the chairman. And the member so presiding shall, in relation to the meeting, have all the powers and functions of the chairman.
Or one is
There shall be chair.
because if the leader of opposition doesn't accept, then this allows for somebody else
not
or
clear.
4 other members to be a chairman.
But I mean, the flow, it says you cannot have a member, the chair has to be somebody from the opposition. And even if you have absence of the chair and the deputy chair.
What does this say?
Right? Cannot be the
What does the code
government.
class?
It cannot be somebody who's supposed to govern
What
the
does it
chair.
say?
But you're trying to establish this, so just declare.
Mr. Speaker,
Criticism.
said
This don't give you
I
information.
go back.
Is an improvement on this? I don't understand where that
The other matter, Mr. Speaker, which I think we need
That is the
to
point.
put to rest.
I'm saying that before it was a member. We were saying a member. And we now say
Mr. President, Mr. Speaker,
to be the chair.
I think finally, because I think
Criticism.
I have spoken for more than almost an hour. I know we had the break.
Is that a concern?
I believe, no, it's more than believe. I think this bill
It's possible. Why not?
This bill is seeking to put in place
This one allows a member of the government to
a structured approach,
I'm trying to.
a structured approach to how the Public Accounts Committee functions. It is not seeking to provide strictures. It is trying to focus through a particular avenue the work of the Public Accounts Committee. It is seeking to provide that kind of protocols, framework, which is clear to all. It is clear to all. And the object of having the Public Accounts Committee function, albeit 20 years late, is really neither here nor there. That is past and gone. We're now going forward.
consecrate the future.
We're going forward. We are setting up something which we believe will function, will provide the public scrutiny, will provide the kind of oversight where necessary, following a set rules and not the women fancy of any person who may have a personal grudge or have an axe to grind on any matter. I think we need, Mr. Speaker, to bring a semblance of order and orderliness to what we do in St. Kitts and Nevis. We need to look at it, and this bill is one such attempt or effort to provide that orderliness. And it will certainly guide the manner in which the Public Accounts Committee functions. And it will also enable the Public Accounts Committee to have a clear understanding of its powers, its authority, and what it needs to do at the end of its meetings. So, Speaker, I did not think, quite honestly, that we would have been taking 2 days in discussing this matter. But it speaks to some other extenuating circumstances and issues which really have nothing to do with the bill. Have nothing to do with the bill. Because I believe the bill is clear. I think the bill sets out in a structured way how things should be done, how the Public Accounts Committee would be constituted, how it functions, and at the end of it, what it will do and what it must do in terms of this Parliament. With those words, I wish this bill safe passage, Mr. Speaker, and trust that we can complete the debate today. Well, tomorrow is a non-days, so we won't be going there. Yeah. So, thank you very much for your indulgence, Mr. Speaker.
Stay up to date with news, programs, and activities of the government with SKNIS. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitter. And watch our videos on YouTube. Connect with us today. SKNIS, St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.